At any rate, the first cake I ever made by myself, because my mother's idea of me helping her in the kitchen was doing all the grunt work, chopping up stuff, cleaning up things. So one day she was gone, and we got all our recipes off the side of the package. The Hershey's cocoa cake. There's a recipe on the back of Swan's silk cake flour. So I decided to make a cake, and I made a cake and made my brothers eat it all up before my mother got home. But my brother Keith, he was a blabbermouth. He told on me. The cake was good. It wasn't like the cake I made from a cake mixer. Cake mixers, I was alive when they invented cake mixers, okay? And I remember following the directions, and the cake started to bubble up in the middle of the pan, okay? So I'm not a big fan. At any rate, you might want to remember December 6th at 7 p.m. at the Eugene and Marilyn Glick Indiana History Center. High Country Holidays, featuring Michael Reno Harrell and Josh Goforth. Listen, they will deliver a heartwarming and humorous stocking full of songs and stories. They have roots that go far back, several generations in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and this is your chance to hear these two performers together. Come and share in that rich heritage as they take us back to a time when music and stories were as much a part of Christmas as cider and striped candy. Listen, I'm going to reach into my lime green basket and pull out another name. And our next storyteller is Sam Powers.
Now, I don't know if it's my lifelong anxiety around knives, my lack of attention to detail, or being raised by a single father. I have never had any interest in or passion for cooking. So much so that the reason I even thought to tell this story tonight was I was making dinner for my family before I left, which was going to be a delicious Italian penicillin soup, which is really just a fancy chicken noodle soup. Come to find out, I used 4 times as many noodles as I was supposed to. So what was supposed to be soup is now just pasta for dinner. However, I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is actually the first time I ever met my now mother-in-law, who is a wonderful woman. I could not be with my family because I had to work Black Friday when I was back in college. And so we had only been dating about a month or so. And my husband said, come home for Thanksgiving with me. And then you can drive back to West Lafayette in the morning. And again, I was a little nervous, but I did it. And I remember that morning, my mother-in-law is like feverishly running around trying to get all the things ready at like 9 a.m. And although I was raised by a single father, I was raised with manners. And so I said, is there anything I can do to help you? And she says, yes, here, peel these potatoes. And she hands me a potato. She hands me a peeler. And I just stare because, well, I knew I was supposed to ask if she needed help with anything. I didn't actually think she would give me something to do. My husband and I, years later, get married. And about 2018, again, I make the mistake of saying, hey, is there anything I can do for Thanksgiving this year? To which she replies, yeah, actually, it'd be great if you could make great Aunt Gladys's pumpkin pie and her pumpkin pie crust to go with it. Now, I come from a family where I didn't even know you could make pumpkin pie crust. I thought you just bought it at the store, like tortillas or refried beans or bread rolls. No, you can make it. And so I, of course, said yes. And I'm thinking, this is it. She is handing the baton to me. I am the newest woman in this family, and I'm just going to wow them with this pie. Generations this pie has been made, but not as well as it has with me. Then we get home, and I'm nearly in tears because it's too much pressure. My husband says, it's okay, I'll help you. I promise. I've been watching my mom and my sister make these for years. It's going to be fine. So all day we're in the kitchen working on these pies, and it comes time to the actual, dinner. And I set these pies in front of everyone like it is just the state fair, and these are my goals. Let's do this. And everyone puts on their, freshly whipped cream on top, and all of a sudden we're taking bites, and I notice one by one, people are dropping like flies. They're forcing it slowly. They're playing fork hockey on their plate. And my mother-in-law so nicely looks across the table and goes, "Hey, Sam, how much salt did you use in that pie crust?" And I said, "Oh, 1 tea." She goes, "Big tea or little tea?" And I said, "Oh, there's a difference?" Come to find out, I used the wrong one. There is a difference. At one point, my husband says, "It's okay, babe. You tried in front of everyone," knowing that he was very much all day with me. So while I have gotten better over the years at cooking, I stand before you in all honesty saying I have no cooking tips to give you, no baking tips, no cooking tips. However, I can tell you a very easy way to never be asked to bring something to Thanksgiving.
I know our mother-in-law. My friends are laughing at me now because there used to be a time where, I have a sign on a kitchen towel that says, "Get the hell out of my kitchen." Because I wouldn't let anybody in there. I did everything. I used to try to have pitch ins, but people would bring just any old kind of crap. You know what I'm saying? And my standards are higher than that. And if you did that, I would talk about you forever. Well, in college, we only had Thanksgiving Day off. So I made Thanksgiving dinner for all the students who were left there on campus. And I had sweet potato pies, and I had turkey and dressing and ham and all the sides you thought you might want. And one of my friends, who's from Chicago, his mother and brothers and sisters surprised him and came to campus and brought the entire Thanksgiving dinner. But by the time they got to us, we were full. Everybody was laying around the lounge and watching football on TV. And from that day on, when I went to my 50th class reunion, somebody reminded me, I'd never had sweet potato pie before until I had yours, and that was really good. So I'll tell you, I want you to know, coming up, Freetown Village celebrates Christmas December 5th through the 7th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Broadway United Methodist Church, 609 East 29th Street. And they promise to inspire as it explores the significance of family and cultural tradition during this holiday season. It's set in the 1870s in an African American community, and the play celebrates the richness of community, the spirit of giving, and the preservation of family traditions. So put that on your calendar. And if you're not busy, tomorrow night at 6 p.m., Conversation, the series is tomorrow at Indiana Landmarks, 1201 Central Avenue at 6 p.m. And if you could go online, and you might want to register. And I don't have a topic. I'm looking at my lime green basket, and I pulled out another name. No Beauty. Come on down.
So listening to Samantha, easy as pie is not a term she would use. Easy as pie is not one I would use either, but for a different reason. My parents built a house with 5 acres after all 4 of us left and were out of the house. My dad went to Kentucky, where we're from, and he got a sucker. If you don't know what it is, it's a tree that comes up from a root from another tree. It was a cherry tree. Brought his house in the 70s, and it grew and had cherries, and we had my mom's cherry pie, and that was great. And then I got married, and we built a house. And my father said, I'm bringing you a sucker from our tree. And so he brought the sucker and planted it in our backyard. And as it grew, he reminded me, he said, I don't want you pruning that tree. Now, I didn't tell him that I had no intention of pruning any tree because I didn't know how to do it to begin with. I was not interested. Well, 5 years later, my daughter is 5 years old, and he said, I'm coming up to prune the cherry tree. And he said, I'm pruning it just so she can climb it. And he did. He pruned the cherry tree so there was a limb low enough that she could reach. And she could climb up in the cherry tree and fight with the birds over the cherries. Then my son was born, and he did the same thing. And my dad came back and pruned the tree so the limbs were open enough that they could climb all the way to the top of the tree. Well, it was just wonderful. And finally, one year, that tree had enough cherries on it at the right time. And both of the kids took a pail and climbed up the tree and picked, and my wife and I picked some cherries, and we brought the pails down and we took them in the house after beating the bees away and the wasps away. Took them in the house, put a chair to the counter so the kids could work on the cherries. And they proceeded to take the stones out of the cherries by squeezing them and sending juice everywhere and sending stones ricocheting off the cabinets and across the floor. And the shirts and clothes that they wore could never be worn again because they were just covered. Then my wife, who is wonderful, said, now let's make a pie. And she put the flour and let my daughter, 7 years old, dig into the flour and dump it on the counter and help roll out that pie dough. And she was white. Oh, just from that little bit of pie dough. But then my son helped stir. And you put the cherries in, you put a bunch of sugar in and other things. And he's stirring with his hands and getting it everywhere, of course. And then they pour it in and cover it with another piece of pie dough, put it in the oven, and easiest pie is not what you would call even but we took that pie out, sat around the table with both my parents, my two kids, my wife and I, and we had 3 generations worth of cherry pie. And it was the best cherry pie I ever had in my life. But it was not easy as pie. Thank you.
I want to reach into my lime green basket, but I think some people out here have a story that they haven't shared with us. Anybody? Get a slip from Samantha, fill it out. While we're waiting on you to decide that you do have a story, let me tell you about this. When I was a little girl, you couldn't stay home unless you were about to die. So one day, I was sick enough for my mother to say I could stay home, but I had to save my grandmother and lay on the couch and watch her. She was watching her stories with one eye open, one eye closed. And she would feed you chicken noodle soup, ginger ale, and maybe some green jello. But while I was sleeping on the couch, recovering, my grandmother was cooking. And she was getting ready to make one of her famous apple pies. Now, have you ever had a relative who would not give you the recipe? That was my grandma. I had a great aunt like that. She had a barbecue sauce that was to die for. But unless you caught her putting things in it, she would not give you the recipe. Now, not only was my grandmother's pies delicious, They were beautiful to look. They were so beautiful you didn't want to cut it open and you didn't want to eat it. But now she had rolled out the crust. She had peeled the apples. She had put the spices in it. She had added the butter. She had taken that pie crust and rolled it on the rolling pin and unrolled it into the pie pan, dumped the apples in, checked to see was I still asleep, went back to the kitchen, put the top crust on, poked the little holes in it, put butter and sugar on top. But I was waiting to see what she was going to do next. She went over to the sink, took her false teeth out, ran them underneath the water, came back, took that pie and crimped around the edges of that. The most beautiful pie you ever want to see. I've been waiting to get false teeth ever since. I could make apple pie just like my grandma. Sean, it's your turn.
That's stuff I can follow. First time doing this, so bear with me. Growing up, we used to throw birthday parties in my backyard, be 20, 30 of us, little kids running around. Parents would get cake, things like that. Normal stuff for birthday parties. I think it was my 10th or 12th birthday, same thing, just 20 or 30 munchkins running around, myself included. My dad, just being the party host he was, wanted to make sure the music was playing and all that. He noticed kids are messy, right? So hands full of icing and all that. He noticed one of the kids must have gotten icing on the boombox. So he just went over and kind of absentmindedly scooped, tasted, immediately spit out. I think everyone knows where it's going. It was bird shit.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not.
That was just awful. But I hear that when birds land on you, their business, that it's supposed to be good luck. I haven't found that out to be yet, but we'll see what happens. If you're thinking about telling a story, we still got blank forms. But right now, I cannot read his name. Renee Erler, is that the name I have? Renee.
All right, so I don't have dentures or bird shit, but all these stories have made me think about three things: my stepmom and Thanksgiving and my hatred of icing, and how those all came together perfectly in just 1 year. So my stepmom is very, very enthusiastic, like embarrassingly so. When I was a kid, we would go get a Christmas tree and she would sing "Oh Christmas Tree," but like really, really loud, and she has a terrible singing voice. And so, but it was one of those things where I would be like, "Oh my God," but I also loved it. So she was also enthusiastic about baking cakes for birthdays. And she was also really terrible at doing this. So every holiday we'd be like, our birthday would be like, "Oh, this is great, but why don't we just have cookies? I don't need a cake." So she would get enthusiastic. She'd make a cake. She's like, "This is the best cake ever." It would look beautiful going into the oven. And then would come out and it would just be like half an inch thick. And then she's like, "I know what I did wrong." So like mad scientist, "I know what I did wrong. I've got it the next time." So the next birthday, she'd maybe put some more flour in and it would be really, really tall. But as soon as you cut it, it would sink. So every single time, it was just terrible. And we all were really, really kind of tired. We're like, let's have birthday dinners at a restaurant so we don't have to do this. So 1 year, she actually succeeded in making a really amazing cake for my brother's birthday. It was perfect, beautiful. And she had really thick icing, and my brother was a Colts fan. So everything was written in blue handwriting on there. I thankfully hated icing.
because they were all eating it, and they all have really big teeth. Like my stepmom, my brother, my sister, their teeth are huge. And they're just like eating and eating and eating. And I start looking around and all I see is blue. Just blue. They're turning blue. And I was trying to play it cool and be nice, but my stepmom sort of suddenly looked around, and because she is so enthusiastic, she just started howling with laughter, like howling. She couldn't stop. And my brother was a little bit anxious. He was like 12. And he ran to the mirror and he's like, I have to go to school tomorrow. And just ran off. So all of this, I just sat back very, very satisfied because I was like, yeah, I am fine. And for the next 3 days, they all had blue mouths. But I did not. And my stepmom has thankfully never made a cake since.
My lime green basket is empty. It's your fault. Anybody got a form, Samantha? Raise your hand. Samantha, she'll give you a blank form, and you can come up here and tell a story about a piece of pie or a piece of cake. Like, I didn't learn how to make cookies until I went to home ec. My mother made desserts, and she thought every meal had to have a dessert. Um, she made cakes and pies, but I made cookies. And my mother was so upset as a child, having been told that she had to eat her dessert last, that she always put her dessert on her plate when she first fixed her dinner, so she could eat her dessert at any time. So if you wanted to have a piece of pound cake toasted with more butter for breakfast in the morning, she was a willing participant. And every time I eat a piece of pound cake, I think about my mom. Let me reiterate some of the things we'll be doing next month. Well, tomorrow we'll be going to Indiana Landmarks to hear conversations in African American history with Freetown Village. December, I think it's the 17th, we'll be at our next storytelling slam way up in Westfield. And once you get started, you'll be right there. It's at Grand Junction Brewing Company, 1189 East 181st Street. And the topic is self-awareness. I don't want you to forget about the fourth Sunday. Once upon a time, Storytelling Circle meets at the Hamilton East Public Library, the Fishers Branch. Bring your story. Deb and Liza will help you hook it up. Here are stories, the life and afterlife of incarceration, featuring India Madison, is December 1st at 7 p.m. at Golden Hours Books, 5208 North College Avenue. And Speak Up, December 3rd at the Phoenix, starts at 5:30 p.m. Stories about the challenges of being unhoused, and you'll be listening to some advocates who have some really good stories to share. Don't forget, December 6th at the Eugene and Marilyn Glick Indiana History Center, High Country Holidays with Michael Harold and Josh Goforth. And Freetown Village will be December 5th through the 7th at Players at Broadway United Methodist Church from 7 to 8:30 p.m. If I raise my hand, can I get another margarita? Please. All right. I'm giving my judges time to get their things tallied out. We're having a giveaway, so if you have a golden sheet at your table, complete that, please. We're going to draw for free tickets for our next event, and you'll want them. It will save you money. My green basket is empty, so do you want to put them in here? Let's pass that around. Thank you. Okay, I tried to. When I call the winner's name, we do want you to come stay around so we can take your picture. Hopefully you'll get it before, I get my next margarita, you know what I'm saying? At any rate, our third place winner today is Ken August. Our second place winner is Noel Bewley. And our first place winner is Samantha Howard. You guys are just so good. Now remember, January 11th, previous winners of the Story Slam have been invited to share their stories at the Indiana History Center. And this is the first time we've done this. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time. I want you to have a happy Thanksgiving. Don't let just anybody make your pies and cakes. We're going to have a drawing as soon as you fill out those goldenrod forms. We're collecting them in the lime green basket. There's a lot of lighter